what you need today to get started is if you were here yesterday, then, oh no, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, Leah. So I think you're on mute. So you need the character that you have been working on for your comic. So it is, this is the character that Naylene drew yesterday, which I'm going to work on hers, because today we're going to be talking all about adding color. Because a lot of times with comics, there are two different people, especially for like big cartoons and productions. A lot of times that cartoonists will have a whole separate person who does color versus a person who does the drawing. And that's true if you go to like any Disney features, any kind of big cartoons. They have different people in different roles. You have the drawer of the cartoon, you have the inker of the cartoon, you have the colorist. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about adding color, because that's like a whole job. So a lot of comic book artists do it all. They like do a little bit of all of it, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. But I'm going to use Naylene's drawing just to make it fast, so I don't have to draw a character. So if you have a character that is already drawn, you want to go get it and get it ready. And I know if you were in Naylene's class, she had maybe mentioned that we were going to add color today. Does anybody not have a comic that they have or a character that they're ready to color with or color on? Looks like pretty. You do have. So you do have one, Leah? Okay. Or you do not have. You do. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, hopefully everybody has something. So a lot of, okay, no worries, Marianne. Yeah, it can just be a simple character. It's totally fine. So today, in today's world, a lot of most colorists who do cartoons do it digitally. They use Photoshop usually, and they're really good at it, and it's almost all done digitally. However, we're not going to learn digitally today because that involves Photoshop, which is really tricky, and not all of us might have Photoshop because Photoshop is a really expensive program. So I'm going to show you guys the basics of coloring, but we're going to be using, we're just going to be doing it by hand, which is how they used to do it anyways. And coloring, when you're talking about coloring, there's some color theory basics that we need to know. So actually, let me switch to my other thing, my other camera. Okay, and let me zoom in on this. So the color theory basics are, there's three words you need to know. They're hue, saturation, and value. So with comics, even though the comic is already drawn and we have like this awesome outline and the shape and we have like all the lines, the colorist is really going to be adding a lot of detail to this. And we do it by using colors. And hue, what hue means, hue is just another word for color. It means like a slice of the color wheel. So like yellow is a hue, red is a hue. Saturation means the intensity of a color. So you can see how this magenta or this pink over here, it's highly saturated. It's like super, super pink. But if you add, if you make it look desaturated, it looks dull, it looks muted, it can start to look gray. So this is where it's saturated and desaturated. So that's what a lot of colorists use, saturation, to show shading and to show different types of effects in their colors. And the last thing you need to know is value. And value is the lightness or darkness of a color. So like we've talked about value before, if you've ever taken my class before, I know I've talked about it a lot in terms of like black and white. And when we do shading, if you're trying to do shadows and stuff, you have like a super, super dark value going all the way to a really light value. It goes from like black to white. But value is also for colors. So with this teal color, you have like a super dark value of teal. And as you're adding more white, it's becoming more and more light or pastel or just a lighter value. So hue, saturation, and value are three kind of important words to know. So we're going to be looking at those three things today. And we're also going to be thinking a lot about shading. So really quick, shading and shadows are two different things. And I wanted to clear this up because somebody asked me this the other day. I'm sorry, I'm reading some of the comments. I get you, Evie. So the difference between a shadow, and this is the difference between a shadow and shading. Let me zoom in on this. So a shadow is literally the cast shadow behind you, and this is the shading. So with this little drawing of this little dude, you can tell that the light is coming from this angle. It's coming from this side because that's where the light side is, and his shadow is a pretty tall shadow. So it's probably, the light is probably coming from somewhere right in front of him. Depending on where the light is in a picture, that helps you kind of figure out where the dark and light areas should be. So the reason I'm talking about this is because before I even pick up any color whatsoever with my drawing, I want to kind of take a moment and decide where the light is coming from. So Naleen kind of helped me out a little bit with this. Actually, that's not even true. I could probably just put the sun anywhere. But because this is like Surfer Dude, and because I feel like, you know, it's probably daytime, I'm gonna guess that the sun is just kind of shining somewhere up here. And you don't have to actually draw it in. Sometimes I just do, just to kind of illustrate. So if the sun is kind of coming from up here, it's casting its rays of light. And its rays of light are coming down like this. All the way like this, just like this. So the reason I drew that in, I don't know if you can see those really light lines. I drew them in really lightly just because I'm gonna erase them later. But the reason I wanna pick that out is because knowing where that light is coming from is gonna tell me where I'm gonna put the highlights on my character. It's gonna tell me where his shadow is going to be. It's gonna tell me a lot of these things. So, and just to show you real quick, if, these are two examples, if the light, I'll move them over here. If the light is coming from behind a character, then their shadow is going to be longer. So the lower the sun, that's why like when you go for a walk in the evening and you see the sun is setting, or if you're opposite of that, if you're going for the walk in the morning and the sun is rising, it's low to the ground, low to the horizon, then you'll notice your shadow grows longer and longer and longer. You have a long shadow. The closer to noon, when the sun is highest in the sky, the shadows are going to be shorter. So I just kind of wanted you to think about that because that's some of the stuff that we're going to be thinking about when we're adding in color. Okay, hope that was kind of clear. So the first thing I ever do is I kind of, before I add any color, is I think about where the light is coming from. And I kind of have decided that the light's going to be coming, it's kind of high in the sky. Maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe he's dripping wet, he's wearing his wetsuit. Maybe he just came back from like a session, he looks pretty chill. So I can tell already that the light, and he has a wetsuit on, and he's kind of wet and drippy. So the light is going to be hitting him on the front. So before I do anything else, I'm going to kind of mask out with my pencil, and I'm just doing it really lightly with my pencil, where some of these highlights on his wetsuit are going to be. So maybe he has like a shiny highlight because he just got out of the water, so he's wet. So my guy's gonna have some like shiny highlights, maybe on the front part of his wetsuit. So I'm just kind of penciling them in. Now I know on the opposite of that, the dark side of his suit is going to be this part, the back side of his suit. I know that like that part's going to be in shadow. The part underneath his arm is going to be in shadow. The part underneath, like in his inner thighs and legs, is going to be in shadow. So now that I've kind of thought about it and I kind of have an idea, oh, I know for his hair is like, when I add color, I know that I'm going to add in some streaks. I feel like this guy is blonde. I don't know why. Just, you know, he's like a surfer dude. So, so I'm gonna start picking out some colors now, and I want to add highlights to his hair. So one of the first things that I do, and I'm just going to be using color pencils, but if you were doing this digitally, what you would do is you would it's called flatting. And what flatting is that they take their comic and they just kind of add in a whole layer of color, a flat color. So you can't do that by hand though, because it's a little tricky. So what I do is I start, and I'm just gonna use color pencils, and I have a pretty big selection of color pencils. I hope you guys have a selection of color pencils. And what I like to do is I like to pull all the color pencils that are in the same color family that I know I'm gonna be working with. So I did this beforehand because I was kind of thinking about this, and I pulled all the yellows and the oranges that I thought I wanted to use for his hair. I pulled some of the colors I thought I might want to use for his skin, and I always keep a piece of extra paper near me to test out the colors first. So like, I just kind of try to make like a little line. Sometimes I put them in like order of like brightest or lightest to darkest. And I'm thinking about color theory when I do this, in the sense that I'm thinking about like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. So I know that this yellow starts out bright. Let me zoom in so you guys can see what I'm doing. All I'm doing is I'm just using my paper and I'm testing out these colors. And I'm just kind of putting them maybe in an order that I like. And I'm kind of going from like yellow, then they go to a little bit of orange, and then it goes down to like a more saturated color of orange. This color, I wonder where this one fits. Well, this one's even a little lighter, so maybe this one would kind of go in over here somewhere. Yeah, like that. So I kind of put them in an order. And so now I have some colors. I kind of like this selection of colors for his hair. So I have about 5 different shades in. I have about 5 different shades in the colors that I would like to start working on his hair in. Yes, Nathaniel, what is your question? Let me know.
So I'm having a little trouble with how to make this look like a kangaroo's color, because I don't know how to make Bingo look like the color of the kangaroo.
Kangaroo? Well, so that's the cool part about comics, is that if you want him to be actually like look realistic, so you have to make a decision. Do you want your kangaroo to look really realistic? Do you want him to look I feel like in a lot of cartoons, kangaroos are orangey-ish, yellowish, tannish colored? Or do you want your kangaroo to look like something totally different? Like, it is totally up to you. So you can go more realistic with your character. You could also go more like fantasy based with your character. So go ahead, Nathaniel.
Well, I'm trying to make him look realistic, but still look more cartoonier in his color.
Okay, so I would start with some colors that were like in this kind of range, Nathaniel. Like, see how like these kind of orangey-ish colors? I would go orangey-ish, maybe to like brownish colors. I would start with that kind of color family if you're trying to go for a more realistic style. Okay. So so the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with some of his highlights. So the areas that are the lightest are the colors you have to do first because we're working by hand. Now, if we're working in Photoshop, you can kind of go back and forth. You can add, you know, light colors on top of other colors that are darker. Well, you can't do that by hand. So all I'm doing is by hand, I'm kind of thinking about where his like lighter streaks of his hair would be. And I'm kind of penciling them in, adding in this color. What I don't want to do is I don't want to just add in like one whole flat color, because that's going to make your comic look flat. And that, I mean, that is the first step when you're doing it digitally. But yeah, if we're doing it by hand, we want to add in. Start with the lightest color. I want to add in some of those details. So I'm starting with that lightest color. For me is yellow. And now I'm going to move up to maybe a darker color. I kind of like this color. I can maybe start to blend in some of these colors so I can have some darker areas. Oh, I kind of like that, but then I think I need an even darker color. This is too light for me. Yeah, let me try this one. Yeah, that's a little better. So I want them to look kind of streaky. So you're so much detail that you're adding with your color that you didn't add with your drawing. Color can really add a lot of stuff. You can kind of tell like the mood of a comic by the colors you pick. Sometimes a lot of comics that are really blue colored kind of have like a sad quality to them. Comics that are, let's see, comics that are really dark have a totally different mood, like a noir comic. There's like a totally different, like a genre of comic that's like kind of dark, has a totally different feel to it. So you can do a lot with color. It can tell you, like you can, a lot of what's done with color, you can't necessarily do with your drawing. So for instance, with color, you can determine what time of day it is. So if your comic is set, you know, in a beautiful sunrise, that's what your coloring is going to add to it. You're going to give a lot of clues about your comic based on the colors that you pick. And whatever colors you do pick, you have to remember to be really consistent. So whatever colors you pick, you want to make sure that you're going to be using them across the board for all of your characters, or for your character across your whole comic. Okay, so I did his hair. Maybe I can even go in. Let me see what color. What does this color do? Well, that one's kind of too gray. I don't like that one. This is kind of like a copper color. I can even take it and I can add in like extra like streaky details if I want to like add some more shadows with a color. So instead of shading with a regular pencil, you're shading using your colors. So you're picking like a darkest color, a medium color, and a lightest color. That's kind of what I always do anything. So like for me on this hair, 1, 2, 3. These were the three I pretty much used. So a light color, a medium color, and a dark color to kind of get the highlight, the mid-tone, and the shadow. Okay. Evie, how can I help you? Or is this, okay, maybe. If you have a question, Evie, I don't know if you're confused about, okay, no worries. All right, so, all right, I did his hair. I think I'm gonna start with his skin next. So I'm gonna pick out some colors that I'm gonna start with 3 the same way I did before. Like a light, a medium, and a dark. So these are kind of some skin tone colors that I have. So let me see what happens when I test them out.
I think Laura has a question.
Sure, what's up? Hi. Oh, you froze. When you're just when you unfreeze, Lauren, we'll go back to you, okay? Okay, Laura. All right. So I picked like a light, a medium, and a darker color. Let me see if you can see those colors a little better if I zoom in. So yeah, so there's like there's my range of like light to medium to darker for his skin. And then you know what? Because he's in the sun, just as an extra detail, I think I might add a little red to his nose. I'm gonna add a fourth because I think his nose might be sunburned. Okay, so as always, I'm gonna start with the lightest color and I'm going to think about where that sun is hitting him. So the sun is coming down like this, and ooh, I need to sharpen this pencil first. Can't do it with a dull pencil. So I'm going to think about where the sun is hitting him, and I'm going to start with that light color. So normally I think his nose would be light, his cheeks would have some highlights on them, maybe his ear, definitely this big part of his chin right here would have some highlights. This finger, the top part of his hand, maybe the top part of his thumb, anything that's kind of facing the sun. I'm starting with my lightest color. Maybe over here, this thumb, this part of the hand, the top part of his feet. And I'm not being too careful. I'm kind of working kind of quick because I'm going to be blending these colors in a little bit. I think this side of his foot would be a little bit lighter, or maybe just the top part of his foot and his middle toes. Maybe a little bit on his big toe. Kind of like that. Okay, now I'm going to start blending these colors in where I started with the light. I'm going to go to my next darkest color, and because he's a surfer, he's probably in the sun a lot, he's probably tanned. So now I'm going to like kind of blend in these colors a little bit. Don't forget, oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot his neck. But you know what? I'm actually not going to use that light color because the one clue that told me that, remember I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I said Nayleen gave me some clues when I was looking at her drawing. The clue that she gave me as to where the sun was this nice thick dark shadow that's underneath the neck. So sometimes your drawings will give you clues as to where the sun is coming from or where the light source is coming from based on like where your shadows are. So I'm just kind of blending my colors in. I'm working right now in that like medium tone, that mid-tone color. So I go from lightest to medium to darkest. If you're working digitally now, I would start with the medium tone. You would start with your mid-tone color and you'd lay it down flat, and then you could work on top of that. You can add on your light tone. It's just, you can't add on light tones with color pencils or with watercolor. A lot of comic book artists use watercolors to do their art too. It really just depends on what kind of style you're going for. Some comics have a more painterly style. Some comics have a more like flat, like comic book style. Like I don't know what you would call it, but like a more saturated, like flat style. Another thing that we're going to talk about next week too is like the mode, or like the mood of your comic, because that kind of affects what colors you pick too. So like I said before, like a blue can make your picture look really moody, can make it look sad. Okay. Bright colors can make it look happier. All right, so now I have my darker color. I'm just gonna go in, and this is really subtle. I don't know if you can really see very much of it, but what I'm doing is I'm just gonna, all the areas that are gonna be in shadow, and I know that are gonna be like a little bit darker, I'm kind of going over with my darker color, but my darker color and my medium color are kind of similar. So this is really subtle coloring. You might not be able to see too much of it, and that's okay, because it's the subtle like effects that really like make a picture look like stand out. It's way better than just coloring something super flat, like with one color. Okay, and so now I have done that. I'm gonna take this color, this reddish color, and I mentioned earlier that I wanted him to have a sunburned nose. I just have a feeling like his nose would be sunburned. He's kind of a doofus. I feel like he's kind of like a goofball. Did Naylene talk about her character at all? Like, did she describe like what his personality was? He's like laid back, right? Scott, do you remember what any of the thing that she said?
She said he was
I
laid
do
back.
remember laid back.
Hug it out kind of character.
Yeah, laid back, hug it out. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like he doesn't care too much about, you know, sunscreen. So I'm just giving him some like some red spots where the sun usually hits him. So it's his like little nose is a little sunburnt over here. Actually, it's really sunburnt. He doesn't care. He's chill. He's just hanging out. All right, surfer dude. Okay, cool. So now I have his hair and his skin, and I've done all of his skin. Now I'm going to start working on his wetsuit. So just like last time, I'm going to kind of pick some colors that are in the color family of whatever wetsuit is going to be. And I think that I'm going to go with like kind of like teals and like teal greens. So I pick out some colors. I'm going to test them first. So I'm kind of trying to work from light to dark. So I'm going to go with maybe this color. Yeah, maybe this color comes next. Let's see, is this one darker? Let's see. Yeah, it's darker. Okay, there's that one. Ooh, these three work really well together. There's like a nice blend right here between like a mid-tone, light, and dark. But I might want some variety. So there's this. This is slate gray, which might just add some variety. So I'm just gonna maybe add that one to my pile. And this is kind of blue. I don't know if I'll use this one. This one is light blue. So I'm actually gonna put the light blue away. I think I'm gonna use these for his suit. Okay, so once again, before I even started, I thought about where the light was gonna hit. And I know that he just got out of the water and he's dripping wet. So he's gonna have like some reflections on his suit that are wet and shiny. And so for those wet and shiny spots, I kind of penciled them in a little bit. I don't know if you can see. Penciled them in just a little bit. But I'm gonna leave those white. So I can also start to think about some details I might add to the suit. So for instance, I'm gonna erase these lights. I penciled them in, so now I know where they are, but I don't wanna leave the pencil marks because they can be hard to erase once you have added color. So I think that I'm gonna add in some like a cool like detail on his suit. So maybe it comes down like this, it comes up, and then maybe there's just like a little detail that comes out like this. Okay, and then I'm actually going to, yeah. All right, I'm gonna start to like color it in. So this is maybe where his reflection is. So I'm just like leaving that part white and I'm kind of coloring around it. So I penciled it in with my color pencil. I'm just kind of working around. Yeah. She's got some like details here. So I'm just adding in some of these details. But now I'm gonna, and I started with the darkest color just because I wanted to do this. I knew I wanted to do this detail in the darker color. but for the next part, maybe I start with the lighter color. So let me just get in here, get into these details. Okay. Are there any questions? I know there's a lot with color. There's like just a lot of, yeah. Nathaniel, what's up?
I want to show you my window colored in.
Let's see. Whoa, awesome. Very cool. So you were working kind of lightly, right? You were like kind of light color pencils?
Yeah,
Nice.
I was trying to get the color of a kangaroo, and
Okay.
I think it was a success.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, if you want to do a different character, if you want to color in a different character, you could do a different one. If you want to like, sometimes you can try some, like, it's all testing right now. So if you like that, you could try it a different way and just, you know, compare. All right. So I know that this is my light color, and so maybe there's like, I'll do this part of his suit, the part that's in the light. So that's going to be in the light. Maybe this part up here will be in the light, actually right here. Okay. Let me see. I think that his suit, this is like the reflection right there. So maybe I need to back and fix this right here. Here we go. Cool. All right. So maybe there's like some cool like details on the legs, kind of come down like that. There's another one that kind of comes down like this. I don't know, I'm thinking about like some, like, you know, some wetsuits have like those like wavy lines on them. So I'm guessing this one has like some kind of wavy lines going on. Okay, so yeah, start coloring this in. We're making sure to leave those highlights really bright and white. Okay. Okay. Maybe this kind of goes down like that. And then I'm going to go back and add in the shadows. So there's going to be some shadowier areas to his suit. Okay, so maybe there's like some light areas here to suit. Can blend those colors together a little bit. It's got this kind of rad, like tealish colored suit. There's some light. I'm gonna erase these pencil lines before I go over these areas. But yeah, if you have any questions. So like I said, a lot of this is about color theory. A lot of it is learning, like colorists are really, it's kind of a really cool job. One of my favorite colorists, I think it was a Disney artist. Her name was Mary Blair, and she worked on a bunch of amazing cartoons in like the 40s and 50s. She was the one who actually designed, if you've ever been to Disneyland, she designed It's a Small World. And she was trained as a colorist, I believe, which is rare because a lot of times it's the men that are trained as colorists. Okay. And then maybe this side is going to be darker because this side's in shadow. Maybe there's a highlight right here. She was, I think she worked on Sleeping. I had to go back and look. To see what Mary Blair did, which comics, but or which cartoons. But I know that like she had, her work is really, really cool. So I'm thinking about the areas that are going to be in shadow, right here, underneath, and here, like is going to be a darker area. Here is going to be a little darker. Back of his calf. Okay, just like that. Cool. So the last thing I'm going to do, now that I have kind of his colors figured out, is I'm going to think about, oh, maybe I need to do some darker areas underneath this arm. This part's in shadow here. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the last part that I want to think about is, so I know that Naileen drew in some water down here. So maybe he needs to have, I need to add in the water, but I also want to maybe add in a shadow for him. So like I said, with my pen, I had the sun up here, and the sun is casting its rays. And as the sun is casting its rays, it's coming down here, it's coming here, it's coming this way. So his shadow is going to be down here somewhere. And because, let's take a look. Because the sun is not super high in the sky, it's actually kind of in the middle. It's kind of, it's not like right above him. So his shadow isn't going to be super, super short, but it's also not like really low. It's not like over here. So he's not going to have a really, really long shadow. So he's going to kind of have a medium shadow, but I think it is going to kind of go off the page a little bit. And you don't have to be too, like the shadow of your character, it doesn't have to look exactly like the character itself. It can be kind of blobby. It can be kind of amorphous. So I know that the part down here where his feet are is going to be in shadow, and between his legs right over here. That's definitely going to be in shadow. And I know the shadow is going to kind of come out like somewhere over here. And I think it's just going to kind of go off the page like this. His shadow is kind of going to go like that somehow. So his shadow is going this way. So now I need to think about what colors I want to use for maybe the water that he's standing on. So I'm thinking blues, darker blues. I use like teals for his suit, maybe some like lighter or darker blues. So once again, I pulled all the blues and even some purples, going to purple a little bit. Now I'm gonna like test them out on my paper and make sure that they, I wanna go from light to dark. So that's like a lighter blue. And we have, this is like a, well this one is like a bright blue. This is called non-photo blue. And this one, let's take a look. Test them to see. Let's see, I think this might be too dark. Maybe it goes to this one. Yeah, that's a little better. So like I said, I always like to test all the colors I do before I do anything. Okay. Kind of gives you a sense, because sometimes you'll pick up a color and you think it's one color, and then you put it to paper and it's something completely different. And you're like, what happened? Like the color of this paper or this lead does not match this color, or the actual color of the medium at all. Okay, so I have a lot here. So I have I have seven different shades, but they work in, so I kind of line them up in order from light to dark. And then I'm gonna kind of maybe pick out, I'll pick out like 2 or 3. So I'm gonna stick with the light. And then maybe a medium. Maybe a medium is kind of like this one. I like those 2. And then a dark color because I want his shadow to be super dark. Maybe this one. So let me test these 3 and make sure they're the ones that I want. Light, mid-tone, and dark. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with those 3. Okay, so I'm gonna start with these 3. Okay, so like I said, normally I start with the highlights, but for this water, for the shadow, I think I'm actually just gonna start coloring in the shadow first, because it's just gonna be the easiest to start with. So kind of comes around this way. It's kind of amorphous blob. It kind of comes this way and works its way off the page. So his shadow is going to be like this. I'm going to color it in nice and dark. Does anybody have any questions about like how to do shadows or how to do how to figure out like which way the light is in your picture? No, everybody's good. All right, I can't wait to see some of your drawings. It's
Evie was
3:13.
asking, what about fur?
Ooh, fur. Fur is really fun. So fur is just a totally different style of mark making. So I've been using, you know, pretty solid laying down. I've been coloring really thickly, but with fur, I mean, you can add like texture. You can add like lots of cool things with the type of mark making you're doing with your colors. So I would do the same thing where you pick out a light, medium, and dark, and you're still thinking about like areas of the fur that are going to be in shadow and darker than others, areas of the fur that are going to be brighter and light, and you would just add the color in the same way. And it just depends. Like sometimes it depends on what kind of effect you want. Some artists will lay the color in just kind of flat, like the way I'm doing right now, and use the ink lines to show the texture of the fur. Some other artists will actually use the color to like the colors in the same way they would do with the ink. So it just depends on what kind of effect you're going for. So I'd love to see yours, Evie. I know you're working on your cat, right? Will you share it with us? Or if you're not ready, no worries. You need to sharpen this. I'm going down, pressing down super hard. You might make a random base because you don't have the right colors for the one you're doing. Yeah, that can be tricky. No worries. That's what, like, the cool thing about comics is that like the colors can be anything you want. Like I could have done this character, he could have been, his skin could have been green. Like it's totally up to you. You are the artist here, and you get to decide how realistic or non-realistic your drawings are. Okay, it's a little bit better. And if this is something you really, really, really love to do, and you want to start learning about how to do it digitally, like that is, if you have aspirations of doing professional comics, it can be kind of cool to start to learn basic Photoshop skills, and you can look on YouTube for any kind of Photoshop tutorials if that's something that you have. I know that the Photoshop itself can be really expensive, but I know there are ways to get it if you're like a student for cheaper. But like if you, the more Photoshop skills you have, the easier it'll be if this is something that you want to do professionally. Because like I said, most professional comics do this digitally nowadays. But the skills that we're learning right now are all the same, and they work digitally and they work by hand.
Pat's hand is up.
Yeah.
So I'm not done yet, but I just wanted to share what I have. Just give me 1 second. Okay, that's done enough for now.
Okay. Oh, cool. So are you using Copic markers? Nice.
Actually, they're just alcohol markers. They're not Copics. They're just
Okay.
they're similar.
Nice.
According to my sister, who actually knows about art supplies, they're just Ohuhu markers.
I like this character of yours. So where is she? Where is the light coming from? Like on in your picture?
There's a tiny mark on my paper right here. It's coming from right there.
So the shadow is going to be in front of her then.
Yes.
Cool. Nice. Awesome.
Working on my outline stuff.
Very nice. I didn't show this earlier, but I can zoom in on this. This is like another little picture I just found to help illustrate. It's kind of blurry. Is that in focus at all, Scott?
It's a little blurry. I can't read the text, but I can see
it's kind of grainy, but it's kind of grainy. It's just a little photo that I found, but it's just kind of shows you like how shadows can go. So for this picture over here, the light source is at an angle. It's in front of this little waiter dude. So you can see that it's coming from above because the tray he's carrying is casting a shadow on his apron. And the shadow, his cast shadow, is kind of coming out from the back. Now for this one, kind of like yours, Laura, the light is coming from behind the character. And so from like the back, and so like actually it's kind of there's some light coming from the side right here, and so his shadow is kind of getting cast kind of to the side like that. For this one, the light is definitely coming from right behind the figure, so it's back here, and so the side that's closest to us is totally in shadow. The lightest parts are near the edges of where the light is coming from. The lightest part over here is closest to where that light bulb is. So I don't know if that helps you at all, Laura, but it definitely where the light source is coming from does affect a lot of where your shadows are going to be. Ooh, okay, all right. Zooming back. Here's Surfer Dude. He's got his cat's shadow. If I want, I could add in some like more watery effects. But it's actually 3:20, and I would love to see some of your work. Does anybody have anything they want to share at this point? I don't want to like forget to have time to share.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. Wow. Nice. Oh, I love it. Oh, I didn't even talk about that, but like, so is your character floating or flying? Oh, wait, are you still on mute? I think you're still on mute. We can't hear you.
I don't know if her mic's working.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, because I didn't even mention that, but if your character is flying or floating, then the shadow will be like above or so. Actually, let me see. I think I have a picture for it. Let me see. A floating character. Yeah, this is a really tiny little picture, but I printed it out because kind of shows, I'll zoom in real close. Hold on. Let me just go in. 1 second. Okay. Zoom in. Okay. So yeah, so it's blurry. Sorry, because it's so tiny. But so this little guy has slipped and fallen, and you can see his, like when something is suspended in air, the shadow is totally not connected to the person. In all other regards, your shadow is always connected. So like on mine, like his shadow is connected to where his feet are. On all of these, the shadow is connected to where their feet are. Even this guy who's sitting like on the stairs, the shadow bends as it goes up the stairs. And this guy is like kind of up on, I don't know, he's pulling something, but he's like up on like a wall, and his shadow is even following him up from the floor. So the only time you would have like a floating shadow is if your character is like flying or is like floating or falling above the ground. So that's awesome. I love it. Nice job, Kira. I really like your character.
Here's Liliana and Heather Rose.
Sure. Hi, girls. Let's see yours. Nice. Ooh, what's your character's name, Liliana?
Sloan.
What is it?
Sloan.
Moon. Oh, nice. Awesome. I love his little like back, like I guess they're like donkey legs or like satyr legs, like the backward knees. I love that. I love it. I totally love it. Nice job with the coloring. Very nice.
Yeah.
Let's see your Heather Rose. Whoa, oh, she's so sweet. Wow. But she's also strong. She's got that really rad sword. I like the green for her. Nice. Does she have like a little like petticoat on over?
Since she's kind of a farm girl, I'll give her an apron.
I love it. I love it. She's super cute. She's a farm girl, but like she's like a warrior farm girl. What's her name?
Elaine.
She's rad. I love her. How are you gonna do her hair and her like what color is her hair gonna be? Is she brunette? Is she a redhead?
Well, I don't know yet, but my first draft was just white hair.
Oh, white. Oh, that's cool too. That's really cool. I like it. Very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Does anybody else have one they want to share? Hey, Tater Tot. Let's see yours. Ooh, were you using watercolors?
No, colored pencils.
Oh, you're using colored pencils. Oh, well, for some reason the effect kind of came out watercolory with the shading. The shading looks really good. Really, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally get a sense of where the light is coming from. I can totally see like the darker areas. It looks awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Here's Laya.
Laya. See yours. Can you hold it up for us? Okay. Oh, you got to bring it a little closer. There you go. Yeah, there we go. Now we can see it. This character is awesome. Is he kind of like Einstein? Tell us about this character. He's so funny with his hair. Does he have a name?
Oh, her mic isn't working.
Oh, her mic doesn't work. Okay, no worries. You can type it in if you want to tell us your character's name. I'm totally curious. Awesome. Oh, I see, Marianne, you shared something. Was that your work, Marianne? Let's see, I'm opening it. Yeah, you have to type, no worries. All right. I don't know if anybody else has any work. Well, if when this finishes downloading, Marianne, I might share my screen so that others can see too. Let's see. It's just taking a while to download. I love that some of you guys were working in digitally, because, like I said, it's like a true comic book artist works digitally. Does anybody else want to share while that one's downloading? Oh, wait.
That's actually Marianne's. I put it
Oh,
on
that's
my
Marianne's.
screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks, Scott. Sorry, for some reason my computer was really slow.
Okay.
It just got downloaded. Nice. Ooh, I like the colors. The colors like that you picked symbolize like is the character kind of evil? Does it have like a kind of like a villainous quality to her? Or it? Yeah. Well, definitely the colors you picked kind of give off a sense of like villainy. But I totally dig the shadow. Like you can see, like definitely see the area of shadow behind her. Nice. Awesome. Very cool. All right. We have a couple minutes left. If anybody else would like to share, I'm gonna switch to my face.
Oh, Sylvia would like to share.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see Sylvia. Wow, Sylvia, that looks amazing. This character is incredibly drawn. Who is it? Oh wait, you gotta unmute yourself.
It's from a picture from a friend. It was a Halloween custom.
Yeah, will you hold it up against? I love it. I love it. What were you using to color? Because
It's marker. They're markers and then colored pencil.
Yeah, I really like it. I love the strong. You get a really sense of like a strong light with like the shadow from his beard, and even like I really dig the black on the background. I think it's like a really strong picture. Even the shadow like underneath his goggles. Very cool. Very nice.
Thanks.
All right. Very nice. Awesome work, everybody. So next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about like putting all of the pieces together. So now that with the first week, we talked about our story and kind of like building like a story mountain and thinking about like what the story of our comic was going to be. Today was this whole week was focusing in on our characters. We know that Ben did some figure drawing because that's really, really important when you're trying to model a character, is thinking about the underlying shapes. Naleen added in like all the fun details. I actually have a picture of hers over here. It's kind of small, but she worked on adding in like all the details to your character, like their costumes. So there's there's Surfer Dude's spacesuit. And then I talked about color. So next week we're gonna get into it a little bit more. We're gonna keep adding to our comics. We're gonna start like building out our storyboards a little bit more. But you guys did an awesome job. Really, really nice. I hope
I think Evie would like to share.
Oh yeah, let's see.
So I kind of restarted, so kind of rushed, but yeah. Here's mine.
Oh, nice. I totally get the shadows on her sweater. I see where your light's coming from. Oh, she's so cute. Is she, what colors is she going to be?
Probably just like white or light gray, but
Okay.
I haven't finished yet. I'm still
What
working.
color is her tail going to be?
I'll probably have like different spots, but I'm not really sure.
Oh, cute. But yeah, I think you did it perfectly with the fur. I think you can use the ink to show the texture of the fur, and you just use the color for the color.
Cool. Thank you.
Nice. All right. Last call for anybody who would like to share. Oh, I saw Nathaniel. Oh, it was turning over. Otherwise, I hope you guys all have an amazing rest of your week. I know it was a short week this week, and we'll be back on Tuesday of next week. All right. Hope you guys had fun. Stay cool. I hope it's not hot where you are. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks,
Thank you.
Scott.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.